Hello everyone, my name is William. Welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Today we're going to be doing another FSEconomy flight back in the Cessna 208 Grand Caravan. Short flight here from Prince George to Tumbler Ridge. Should be pretty fun and hopefully some good scenery along the way. Let's go ahead and get into the planning so we can get on with the flight. Alright, so taking a look here at the FSEconomy site, you can see we're on the My Flights page, and in the loading area here is where I have the assignments basically ready to go. So these are all from Prince George to Tumbler Ridge, and you can see here all the assignments in total. It is 12 passengers, almost completely filling the caravan up. Value for this of $8,316. Very good paying for 91 miles for sure. And we have 170 gallons of fuel in the aircraft. I did have to refuel here because somebody had rented the aircraft and actually flew it to Prince George, and they left the aircraft with about 20 gallons of fuel in it, scraping on into Prince George on fumes, I guess. But we went ahead and refueled to half a tank, and we should be fine. And looking at this, there's no Jet A available at Tumbler Ridge, so went ahead and filled the aircraft a little bit more, just so in case we need to get the aircraft out of Tumbler Ridge, we should be completely safe on fuel. That way we don't have to ferry fuel into Tumbler Ridge or pay for it in some other way. Just basically saving me some time and effort by looking ahead and seeing that there's no Jet A available here. So make sure to fill the aircraft up a little bit more. Kind of one of the things that you have to do with FSEconomy, but it adds more to it anyways, in my opinion. So we're ready to go as far as the flight is concerned. And taking a look here on SkyVector, just got a simple little route planned. We're going to go to the Prince George VOR, which is highlighted in red there, then on to Figgy, which you can see also highlighted along the route now, and then Stall along the way. You can see basically it says 9,200 feet is definitely completely clear of all terrain along the way, and we can kind of see in here it looks like around 6,000, 7,000 feet for some of the mountains that we'll be kind of flying over. So thinking around 9,500 feet should be good for our trip to Tumbler Ridge. So that's pretty much all we got as far as the planning goes. We're ready now to go ahead and get into the airplane and get the flight underway. Welcome on board the Cessna 208 Grand Caravan here on the ramp at Prince George. We just got a pushback from the lovely ground crew as always. So now we're ready to start our flight in the FSEconomy client. You can see Cessna 208 Caravan, and it is available at Prince George. So we'll go to Flight Actions and Start Flight. I'm going to make sure we got all of our passengers loaded up. Don't want to leave anybody left behind, but they're all there, so we're good now on the FSEconomy side of the house. So we'll go ahead and hide the client, get it out of the way, and we can go through and get the aircraft ready for startup. So we'll put the prop to full, make sure our parking brake is set, open up both of the fuel tanks there, and go ahead and go battery on, get our avionics on, and our beacon light on. So just making sure our flight plan is loaded in, and that all looks good, and we'll leave it nice and zoomed in here. So we'll go ahead and come over at this point, and we can go fuel boost to on, and then we'll go ahead and engage the starter. See, oil pressure's coming up, props coming up. Get a little bit more oil pressure, and then we'll put the conditioner lever to low idle. I see fuel flows in, oil pressure's climbing, ITT's on the rise, as is the NG. Everything's coming up. Now we just kind of wait for a moment. Ground crew's having a blast just driving their little pushback machine around. Alright, and the engine is started up, so we'll go ahead and disengage the starter there. We'll leave it in low idle. We can leave it basically in low idle until we're ready for takeoff, so we'll go ahead and leave it there while we sit here for a moment and get a couple more things set up on the aircraft. Make sure all these are the way I want them. Go pitot heat, stall heat, We'll leave the lights off for now. CDI we'll set to GPS because we have our flight plan set up already. I'll go to PFD and put bearing 1 on GPS as well. Get wind on option 3. And we should be good to go as far as that is concerned. The wind is calm here, so unless the ATIS says something pretty crazy, I think we're going to use runway 06 for departure, which is right here. So we'll just taxi out, back taxi, and then use that little turnaround and take off runway 06. So that's going to be our plan unless the wind is different than what I'm seeing, but it should be calm. So we'll go ahead and get the weather now. So let's tune up to the ATIS frequency, which is 128.725, I believe. So let's get that in the box there and then switch over to active. Get our pin ready.
Prince George Airport information, Sierra 2200 Zulu. Wind calm. Visibility, tree. Sky condition, few clouds at 600 feet, few clouds at 4,300 feet, few clouds at 12,300 feet. Temperature, 14. Dew point, 10. Altimeter tree 0.15. ILS runway 15 in use. Landing and departing runway 15.
Okay, so yeah, they're using runway 15, which is all the way basically at the top of the map over there. But we're not actually talking to ATC, so we're going to go ahead and use runway 06. He said tree 015 for the altimeter, so we'll put that in there, and it is now set into the standby altimeter as well. So we're set up on that front. Let's go ahead and set our altitude bug to 9,500 feet. I think we're in really bad visibility because there's a layer of low clouds right over the airport at the moment. So hopefully we'll just climb straight above it, and then we should be fine for basically the rest of our flight as far as visibility goes. But we'll see what happens basically. So we can go ahead and set a heading bug if I wanted to heading 060 for our takeoff. If the scroll wheel will work with me there. I could activate heading mode, and I could also just get a vertical speed mode set up for 1,000 feet a minute, something around there. But basically we're ready to taxi now. We got a dude standing over there, and looks like just that over there. So I think we'll make a left turn out of here and hopefully clear everyone, but we'll see. So let's go ahead and get our taxi light on. We'll release parking brakes, and we will give it a little bit of power and get turned around here. I'm serious, this ground crew's having way too much fun with this little cart. They're just going to town. Hasn't stopped moving since they moved our aircraft. It's quite funny. Alright, watch your head. Alright, so this is runway 06 that we're going to be holding short of here. Since we are about to take the runway, we'll go ahead and light ourselves up like a Christmas tree. So we'll go nav light on, strobe light on, we'll get our landing lights on, and so we don't forget, we'll go ahead and go mixture to, or conditioner lever to full, and we'll get our takeoff flaps in. So we're set for that. Let's go ahead and take the runway. We'll make a left turn, taxi all the way down to the end, and turn around so we've got the full 5,000 something feet available to us. So, the Caravan is quite capable, but we are we're pretty full on passengers, and it's simple enough to just kind of taxi on down here, get a little bit of extra room, hopefully make for a smoother takeoff. So speaking of, for takeoff today, we're looking for around 80 knots for rotation. I'm going to try and climb out at about 110 on the flight level change mode. Let's see if there's if it's improved at all with the way it captures altitude, or if it's still incredibly abrupt, basically. But we'll see. So taxiing on down, we'll go ahead and increase our map range. And 06. Here's a little turnaround, which is good, because Caravan doesn't exactly turn on a dime on the ground. It's not terrible, but definitely does make you feel like you're in a little bit of a bigger aircraft. Really got to use some toe brakes. Alright, so let's line up a little bit better. We'll go ahead and set our power. Try not to over torque it, so we'll slowly feed it in here. And we'll release brakes. Airspeed is alive. So looking for around 80 knots. And rotate. We have a positive rate. Just try and hold runway heading here, 060. Keep a positive rate up. Go ahead and pitch down a little bit. Get a little bit of acceleration. And let's get our flaps in and compensate with more back pressure. This thing really sinks. You know, we basically just lost all of our climb. It's not handled the most gracefully, but I am not a graceful human being. Alright, so yeah, just trying to keep 060 and continuing the climb. Definitely does feel heavier. I need quite a bit more positive trim than I've needed in a bit. So we're nice and loaded up, and we can see we're kind of breaking through the clouds now. So it's pretty much what I thought. We're going to go ahead and turn right a little bit to kind of capture on course. Not going to let the autopilot take over just yet. It'd probably be doing a better job, but that's just fine. Go ahead and activate the nav mode. See, we're kind of capturing. It would be super aggressive if I turned on the autopilot at this point. That's just the way it is, and we're basically at the speed I wanted, which was 110. So I can turn on the flight level change mode and let it start to activate. Watch my heading there. See, we're through this huge blanket of clouds. I can just see a little bit of ground popping out, so there's just a really, really low layer of clouds, which should clear up around Tumbler Ridge. If not, we're going to have to continue on to, I think it's Grand Prairie, which isn't much further, but there are options if it doesn't work out. Get a little bit more trim in to kind of alleviate the fact that I'm really having to pull back to keep this thing. Alright, so at this point we can activate the autopilot. So it is on now. See, the yaw damper still doesn't activate at all. We can go ahead and get our landing lights off. And basically just kind of take a look. So you can see this really low layer of clouds. It actually looks really cool. I'd make an approach right now into Prince George, probably a bit of a nightmare. And we're still just climbing 4,500 feet for 9,500 feet and 2 miles away from the Prince George VOR. And we'll start our left turn up towards Figgy, I believe, is how you would say that. So we could pull the power back a little bit now if we want to. We probably should. We're a little bit high on all of that, but with the flight level change mode, it's basically just going to control my climb based off of the aircraft's performance. So if I pull the power back, it'll just slow the climb or even stop the climb if it needs to. Basically, it's just going to try and do whatever it needs to do to hold that aircraft speed. So if I absolutely firewalled the throttle right now, we just see a big increase in our climb rate, and it would still hold 110 knots. Just really nice. It is still pretty aggressive. We'll turn it on to half bank mode so it can't roll the aircraft around that much. Ton of trees out there. Look at those clouds sloping all the way up to the start of those mountains up there. Looks really nice. Like a big fluffy blanket just right over the ground. Hopefully it clears up at Tumbler Ridge. So we're now direct Figgy, about 26 miles. And let's see, it does look like we're getting just a touch of wind, about 2 knots, and it looks like it's kind of gusting around a little bit. Changing its direction, about 15 degrees or so. We're probably going to get some turbulence as we fly over the mountain range up in front of us. It shouldn't be anything too bad though. 9,500 feet, we should be above it enough, but we're still going to get rocked around a little bit. There's not going to be much escaping that. Alright, so we've just got about 1,500 feet, or 1,300 feet to go in the climb. The wind is really kind of shifting around on us a little bit. It was coming from the east, now it's coming from the west. It had picked up to around 14 knots, just dropped to around 9, but see it's kind of increasing again. So we probably will have if this kind of keeps up, we're going to have a decent bit of turbulence, a bit of a rough ride back there for everyone as we go over the mountains. Just kind of with the way the sim has been, I feel pretty safe in assuming that already. But we are well above the nice fluffy cloud layer. It looks great, but definitely want it to look a little bit more clear, kind of like it does up in front of us, not too far. So about 500 feet to go. I want to see how this fletch mode, or flight level change mode, works in capturing. Previously it's just abruptly stopped, and then the altitude capture mode just kind of comes in. I don't know if maybe that's because I need to have the altitude select mode enabled first, but we'll see. It's about 200 feet to go there, and now it's on altitude mode. That was a pretty smooth transition. So I don't know if that's just it decided to work better this time, or if it's actually been addressed. Either way, that's the first time I've had a smooth altitude capture using the flight level change mode, which has really been the only thing I haven't liked about it, so that's nice to see. And hopefully we will be able to see a little bit more of this beautiful landscape here, and in just a little bit, once we get kind of past this huge blanket of clouds that we found ourselves in. You see a whole bunch of trees. It looks like we're still over pretty flat land at this point, but the start of the mountains kind of looks like where the clouds end, but then looking up here, it looks like there's a layer right above the clouds that we might actually be flying through at this altitude. So hopefully we get to take in some of the sights though. We're going to keep our power setting in and try and get a little bit more ground speed out of the aircraft. We're almost doing 180 knots across the ground. It's not bad. That makes this basically a 30-minute flight. A little bit longer because of taxi, slow climb, everything like that. So we'll try and get a little bit more. I don't think we're going to get a ton more airspeed out of it. We're already going pretty darn fast, in all honesty. And this is basically a direct, what's that say, 18 knot crosswind. If we actually want to know just easily what kind of crosswind, tailwind, headwind component, whatever it is, you just put it onto option 1 and it'll break it down for you right there. So it is basically exactly 18 knots directly on our side for a crosswind component, and maybe just a 1 knot tailwind component every now and then. Option 1 is really great. If you're not too interested in anything about the wind other than how it is directly affecting your aircraft, which is really all you should care about. Just for some reason, I like seeing where it's coming from and the speed. At least in the sim. So, nice feature to use though, definitely should. We're finally getting out away from this huge blanket of clouds. We can see some ground and some more clouds that are going to start before too long right above these mountains. Cruising along here, just about 8 miles now from Stall. You can see we're through some of the cloud layer, and you can just see how pretty it is up here, but we are getting rocked around. Passengers in the back are, well, they're probably used to it in all honesty. Hopefully they're not getting sick back there. I wouldn't do too well with cleaning that up. Not a person that handles that very well, but if you're watching at this part of the video, I do just want to say thank you so much for the support. I know a lot of people just watch the takeoff and landings and whatnot, but kind of want to ask you guys your opinion on keeping this aircraft in the kind of British Columbia, Alaska panhandle sort of area in FSEconomy, and exploring this area with the Caravan. I mean, like looking out there at some of the lakes in these mountains and everything, it's really cool. Absolutely beautiful to fly through. And some interesting airports that, I mean, like I always say this with FSEconomy, and I would never visit if it wasn't for FSEconomy kind of taking me to those places. So if you do think I should kind of leave it in this area, let me know. If you'd rather it kind of just go straight up into Alaska, you can let me know as well. Either way. Or just fly around and don't really stick to one place either. I mean, really either way, I'm not too set on one option. It's just the more I kind of fly around this area, the more I want to explore it. So taking in the sights and enjoying the view. And again, I do just want to say I really do appreciate all the support from you all. I love playing these sims and flying, and it means a lot to me that you guys actually watch the stuff, like the videos and all that. It's huge, as well as the fact that we're almost closing in on 4,000 subscribers, which is insane to me. So once again, shout out to all of you. It's awesome, and I appreciate it. I'm gonna stop before I get all emotional, but I appreciate y'all. So it might be a little bit bumpy up here, but we can definitely enjoy the sights. So we are now over Stall, or just past Stall. We did pick up a little bit of a tailwind, but it reduced the power setting a little bit. So we're only doing about, we got 180 knots going on in the aircraft right now. We'd probably be going a little bit faster had I kept the power setting up to where it was, but not a big difference. And you can see now the wind is shifted a little bit more towards the it's kind of like southwest-ish, and we could once again just take a look and see how much of a tailwind we're actually getting. It's about 6 knots, 5 knots on the tail. Nothing too insignificant. We should go ahead and talk about Tumbler Ridge that we'll be coming up to. It should be just past this big mountain up here, kind of off towards the right side of our nose. At Tumbler Ridge, we have runway 02 and 20 available to us. With the direction of the wind, I would say we probably want to use runway 20, unless the wind dies down to close to calm around the surface, which it may. So we'll kind of see as we start our descent in. But right now, 02 would be basically a straight in for us. It's basically the heading we're flying right now, 020, and 20 we'll just circle and basically do a pattern in for the airport. And some of these mountains look a little bit strange. I guess it's kind of where the tree line stops, because of how steep they are. It almost makes them look like they're bald, in all honesty. Like, you can see this one's not super steep, and just at the very top, it's kind of where the tree line stops. Whereas this mountain over here, it stops way down there, but you can see how much of a sheer cliff that mountain looks like compared to this one off in front of us. Let's actually see, we got great visibility out here now. Not worried about the clouds at all, so it did clear up. Like I said, kind of as we were going over that mountain range. There wasn't a ton to look at for the first little bit. It's all those beautiful little kind of lakes, ponds going on. Cool looking roads too. They'd probably have a pretty sweet rally stage down there. That'd be pretty epic through some amazing scenery. And I think that is Tumbler Ridge right off our nose. You can see that clearing. And that looks like our airstrip right there. So we just have a little under 5 minutes till we're at the field at the current speed. I'm sure these 12 people are ready to get off of this aircraft, and I am ready to take their money. So owning these aircraft in FSE isn't quite the same as it used to be. It used to be you know, you just buy it and then pay to maintain it, fuel and all that stuff. But oh boy, it's getting real rowdy. It's kind of turned into where you actually have to pay fees basically every month for what you own. And the Caravan, one Caravan, for example, is almost like $5 grand in fees every single month. So it's easy to make that, but it does add up. We're not too concerned with the financial aspect of it at the moment, though. It's getting real rowdy up here. The airfield's somewhere around 3,000 feet in elevation, if I remember correctly. Don't hold me to that. I had it written down somewhere, but I can't find it. So we'll go ahead and descend. We'll set 5,000 in the altitude bug. And we'll go ahead and start down. We're 3.5 minutes away. We're going down 4,000 feet. So we'll set 1,500 feet per minute in. And since we are descending, we'll pull the power on back. For the 208, we can go ahead and get our first notch of flaps out at 150 and go full flaps at 125. Our approach speed today is also going to be around, it's probably going to be around 80 knots, somewhere around there, 80, 85 knots. Could go slower, but a little bit of airspeed's not a bad thing. So when you want it, you'd rather have more of it than less of it. That's generally the way that goes. Got a beautiful river off there to our left. Looks like a little bit of a town or something going on. Some sort of build-up right there. And the airfield directly in front of us. So you can already see the wind's died down to 5 knots. But it is basically directly on our tail. We'll go ahead and let the autopilot rest for the remainder of this. It was working quite hard. So, get our landing lights on. You can see down there. There's a couple little buildings, roads. Must be where our passengers are off to. So we are quite high, and the wind has died down to 2 knots. So we're below 150, so we can actually go ahead and go our first notch of flaps out. Aircraft is really going to pitch up, because that's a lot of lift, but also a lot of drag. So we're going to actually increase our rate of descent here. This is the great thing about flaps. We are increasing our rate of descent, and the aircraft is slowing down. So really, if we need to, we could do a 360 or enter a pattern or anything like that, but let's see if we can use the flaps and get in as a straight in. So we'll go ahead and raise the nose just a little bit, decrease our airspeed. There's 125. We'll go flaps full. That's really going to slow the aircraft down. Passengers in the back are freaking out. And this isn't going to be a very well established approach. So we'll actually probably go ahead and... Actually, let's see. Let's see if we can make it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just don't think we're going to be able to get our speed down enough. So we're having to hold like 107, basically.
500.
I think we might actually be able to get in. Yeah, we'll commit to landing this. It's 85 knots. We'll just keep the throttle on idle basically all the way in. Over the threshold. We're gonna float just a little bit. Just keep it on the center line. And just lightly pressing the brakes. And that is us down at Tumbler Ridge with a pretty crazy approach in there. Could have done like a side slip or something too. That'd be kind of fun in a 208. That's if you need to get the aircraft down in a hurry. I mean, the flaps on this thing are pretty great at getting the aircraft slowed down, even with that much nose down. I mean, we were still holding almost our approach speed. So now then we will just back taxi off to the ramp. I think it's off here towards our right. We could zoom the map in. Yeah, we got the ramp coming up off our right side. And the wind here on the ground is just about 3 knots. It wasn't directly on the tail, so just a minor tailwind we landed with there. Airport's basically right at 3,000 feet, so I guess I didn't lie to you guys too much. Alright, get on the brakes because this thing does not like to turn on the ground. If you're going too fast. Turn right into the ramp here. Get this thing parked. Get our flight logged in FSEconomy. Get paid. And get ready for our next adventure, basically. Alright, we'll pull up and we'll sit here. So, the FSEconomy client is still running away. And if we set our parking brake here, that's all we got to do. And our flight is now logged. I'll just click OK on that box and you can see the flight goes away, information, and now our aircraft is at Tumbler Ridge. So as far as FSEconomy is concerned, we are there, and passengers are getting off and we're getting paid, which is fantastic. So now we can go through and get the aircraft shut down. So get all the lights off except for our beacon light. And then we will go ahead and also get our stall heat, pitot heat off. Let's see, I should have had that fuel boost on normal for the entire flight, but it is what it is. We'll go ahead and actually leave it on normal for the moment. We'll go condition lever to cut off. We'll go fuel boost off. Get our avionics off. Thank you very much, Flight Sim. We have logged our flight. We get the beacon off and the battery off as well. So that is us parked up here at Tumbler Ridge. I hope you all enjoyed the flight. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you did like it, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more content as always. Thank you all so much. Until next time, bye-bye.